Вітаю усіх вас. Надзвичайно
Welcome, friends. I'm so happy to welcome you here and address you all, friends, family, and everybody else who joins us this afternoon at our online talk show called Family Under House Arrest. And we have very good arrestees, Sergey and Tanya Sologub. Let's get to know them. And first of all, my friends, I'd like to get to know you better. So I ask them through to answer our fast questions. Sergey and Tanya, you respond to short questions. Most interesting country you visited? Israel. That was very special because we went together. I traveled to Israel before alone, but last year we went together. Tanya? Israel for me as well, because we went together without children. That happens seldom. Actually, that was the first time over 17 years of our family life. What irritates you in people? That's a question. When people do not take responsibility. I hate that in myself, but also I don't understand how people know how to do things and they don't do it. I agree, although we did not talk about this before. Your favorite subject in school? Everything except for math and physics. I like humanities. These were favorite for Sergey. What's your answer? I love precise science. Also anatomy, astronomy, everything that begins with A. No, everything that is about nature, but also algebra. Next question. Quality or trait in your character that you'd like to get rid of? Irritation. I want to be more quiet. I want to be more peaceful and balanced. Tanya? I have many qualities that I try to change every day. So she's hiding it. Okay, we'll still be looking deep what you're working on. Tanya, your hero in history. Everyone expects for me to say Jesus, but that would be true. And second, my hero is my husband. Two heroes that are alive. Said he. I'm amazed. I'm amazed. Okay. This is hero over heroes, Jesus, but who else? Pastor Irpin. He's 87. He is a great mentor in my life. He's very sound in his mind. He writes books and he knows what he lives for. Let's stop here. First, a time you've seen your future fiancé and husband. It was a youth festival. Khmelnytsky in Vinnytsia. I was leading the game in Christian camps. Games to get to know each other. And there's a game where you just hold hands and run. A small string game. Everyone wanted to play, except for one girl. I did not like those games. And I told her, please join, because everyone needs to play. Tomorrow, somebody else will be responsible. You should not play tomorrow, but today it's my responsibility. That's the first time I met. You know how to convince, said he, your favorite dish. I love what my wife cooks in the stove. She bakes chicken or potatoes. Everything that comes from the inside of the stove, I love. Tanya, anything salty for me. I don't have even boiled potatoes in skins with herring. Are you maybe pregnant? No, I love it. Over all years of our marriage, 17 years. What's your favorite your best achievement? I think spiritual state of our children. Maybe when I think about it, when I see them making a step of trusting God, when they ask forgiveness before I reproach them, when they ask forgiveness before I mention the trouble. What Christ is doing in our family is our joint achievement. He's teaching us, and we invest in our children. Tanya, I have a group for ladies. So for the girls that I invest in, I see changes when they say, we started reading the Bible. That's a great victory for me. Tanya, next question. When you were a child, who did you dream to become? First, I dreamed to be a librarian and then clothing designer. How are they related? I don't know. Said he, your dreams? I dreamed to be a train conductor. My father was in military and we traveled a lot. We traveled a lot about and around Soviet Union. And then, like every Soviet boy, I dreamed to be a cosmonaut. In 6th grade, I was a pioneer. We're dinosaurs. Your favorite season? Autumn. Sergey, early spring. Well, not early. The spring that is almost becoming summer. That would be May. Great. May is my favorite month. Your strongest trait, your strongest quality. I'm very detailed, detail-oriented. I used to be a designer for 6 years. I was designing websites. And when you move things by 1 pixel, 1 point, it doesn't look as good. And I love to make things exactly well. That allows to reach goals fully. Maybe goal-oriented. But for people who live under your roof might consider that that's not a quality. Well, I think because I'm optimistic, they're staying. If I was melancholic about it, they might have left, but maybe my wife will tell us. What's your strongest quality? Dedication. If I start doing things, I never stop until I finish. She's a person who knows it must be done. I'm very happy. I'm very blessed. Praise God. And the last question from this introductory interview. The event you're waiting for. The family day, where we open to each other, with husband, with children, but then some trip together. Where would you like to go? When you are relieved from your home arrests, house arrests. Europe, Prague. She saw some beautiful pictures. I saw Prague. Some old city or nature. So, a family day and traveling somewhere. Said he. The day you're waiting for. I'd like to take a family to visit 2 contrast places. First is Auschwitz. I visited it twice. Up to 2 million tourists a year used to visit. That was statistics for when I went 2 years ago. Terrible mistakes that should not be allowed in the future. There are tours for school children to reevaluate values in life, to reassess priorities. When children get more mature, we'll go there. And then Israel. We went to Israel together. We saw where Jesus went up the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem. I want to introduce biblical world to my children. Old Testament, New Testament. Great. Online viewers, we are moving to the next page. We are getting to know this super couple, and you can ask your own questions. Just write your questions. I think maybe in 20 minutes, maybe in 30 minutes, we'll move to your questions. So please write a question if you would like to learn from this young but very wise couple. You have almost 18 years, although you look very young. Before we move to deeper, more serious and slower section in our discussion, please tell us about your prison place where you enjoy your quarantine or house arrest. So tell us about your prison, Tanya. We have our own house in Irpin, very large. In your prison, how many square meters do you have? 170. That's nice. Have a nice place. I'm thankful to God for it. Because when you have many children at home, we need to a place to hide sometimes. What's your favorite place in your house? It's a time when I see God, when I meet God. I have a time when I talk to Him. There is one place. My bed, my Bible, my bedside table, because later activities eat up my time. About your miracle, about your house. When we lived through financial crisis, 2008, 2009, I remember that a young choir went to Estonia. We visited Slavic churches and other churches, and for the first time I went into prison of European nation at that time, Estonia. When I saw how their canteen looks, I saw their reception hall, their chapel or football field. That chapel, when they come to pray, I thought that's not a worse place to go through financial crisis. And I then saw a place of solitary imprisonment. That's terrible place despite the fact that it was European country. So you have a land plot, how big? 5.7 5,700 meters. We lived in Irpin. We were renting at Ozerna Street, and we had to pay $35 and then $100, and that was at peak of the prices, and your income was very little. To imagine buying a plot of land in Kiev region and then building a house of 170 square meters. How did you manage to do that? About our income. I worked at a charitable organization, Youth for Christ, organization called Choice. We went to schools, and our salaries were enough to eat, and we bought things to wear in Khmelnytsky at the market. That's where I come from, and the market is cheaper there, so we would save up money to go to the market and buy our clothing. I would not say we were very poor. When I got my salary, we would buy herring and tomato juice. That was traditional way of spending this day of receiving our income. And Tanya would bake potatoes. We had a prayer calendar that was sent to all international offices of Youth for Christ organization. And we wrote, please pray for our house. Pray for a place for us to live. And one friend, Jeremy Hardinson in Ireland, he started writing to us. He said, we are praying for your house. What are the options? And the prices were very high. Actually, before the recession in 2007, prices were very high. We started asking around. Neither he or his friends were not able to help us. As accountant, he was trying to calculate even to pay off the house for 60 years. Because we were renting at that time, we didn't have parents who could help us with getting a house. They're alive, but they're very humble in their living. Didn't have any means to help us. And then he said, imagine you had a $10,000 when I had salary of $100. It was fairy tale amount. But I said, okay, let's imagine if you had amount of $10,000. Then I would ask my friends to join in. How much did you have? He asked me on Skype. And I said, 0. And that's what I sent to him. He said, okay, I'll pray for you, fine. But then interesting thing happened. One friend, I will not give his name, he's from the United States. He prayed for us. He said that he announced that need to the church, and our community decided to help you. One-time assistance, and they gave $10,000 for the foundation. And that was a miracle. One day apart between two correspondences, one about how much you have, and 2 days later I say that such a person and their church has pledged this amount. They have not made the transfer yet, but our friend replied, we believe that God is there and we would like to join in. He saw that as a sign that God is helping on the other side of the ocean, and here, and their friends join in, and they helped us first buy a plot of land, although it's registered in my name, but it will be theirs. And then they made the first transfer, and another pastor in Ukraine is also chief of construction, and he was always busy, and he moved to another village where we served, and I asked them, Boris Ivanovich, are you free? He said, I know you and I'll be happy to help. And we saw how God sent us someone from over the ocean to give us this amount, and then friends in Ireland joined in, saw God's sign there. And then one lady who owned that piece of land decided to sell it for us. And then this pastor who used to be busy now is free, and he decided to help. My son will make the roof for you. They made they also made the roof for us. And this lady who helped us also is in our church, now is realtor. And he said that my friends who have built many houses for me now will also help you. And then he added, we planned a house 9 by 9 meters, and then he expanded it. Drawing, and I am the owner of this house, but it's resource from God. I'm just a manager. How much did you spend for the land and for construction? Huge amount, actually. We will not tell you. I'll tell you. After the recession, we could buy several houses, and then we had a question to God. Lord, we could build houses for 5 pastors, for 5 people, 5 families. That was a question for us, but we were building at the time of recession. I was traveling, I was ministering, I had 43 different ministry visits that year. The story was not over. We took the loan that we had to repay, and we did not have money to repay, but we agreed that we would repay. And so our house was constructed, 2nd floor, and we decided maybe 2 or 3 years later. And these people said that they had a huge plot of land that was sold, and good repayment was made, and like paying forward. You can keep serving to somebody else. Please don't send the money back to you. We will forgive you. So you don't owe anything to anyone for the house, even 3 years from the moment. No. One of those friends visited us and saw that. So great. So your prison, where you now spend your quarantine, is a great place. I'd like to encourage people before you turn the page. We never believed that would be possible. If I watched this interview so many years before, that would not be possible. I was not in IT then. I did not have rich relatives, and what we have now is achievement of God and people who listen to His voice. So the same God is in your heart. God is kind. Pray to Him. Tanya, my next question is to you. In 3 words. In 3 words. Explain the marriage of your parents. My father, fishing and work. My mother, children and park. These are separate words. Our father was working and fishing, and mother was spending all the time with us. And you were in between. I was trying to go fishing and to spend time with mother. On Sunday we ate together. 3 words to explain the marriage of your parents. It's easier for me to describe mother and father, but marriage is their joint relationship. First word would be migration. We traveled a lot. Every 4 years we would move. Migration would be number 1. I think they loved each other because it was difficult with all moving around. Love? Yes. I never heard that they wanted to divorce. My father was drinking from time to time, but I think the word love would be there. They also saw their happiness in us, their care. I have older brother, 7 years older than me, and my parents invest in us. How are you like your father and like your mother? 2 things from dad, 2 things from mom. I looked at pictures. My father went to be with the Lord 3 years ago. I didn't find a serious picture of him. He was an officer. He would always twist his face or smile, and so Sergey is more like father. Joking optimist. Yes. My mother liked to talk to people. My father was more introverted. So, optimism from father, communication with mother. From my father, I like calm. I don't like fishing, but I like calm. I like to close the door and to be with myself, with the Lord. But from mother, I love to cook. I always cook a lot. When I cook something, there is always enough for guests to eat. She taught me. Her mother is very generous. Thank you. My next question. Did you have a thought about divorce? At least once. Did you two have a thought of divorce? Joking thoughts, maybe. Maybe as a joke, not seriously. Not seriously. I think the longest conflict that we had would be 24 hours, maybe 36. We were taught to resolve every conflict in the evening, by the evening. If we have some misunderstanding, we talked. But one time I was very unhappy when we did not find peace in the evening. I wanted to talk to God and I couldn't. So we started talking again after the quarrel. It's better to rebuild relationship every time than to divorce. Why? Why did you not have those events that would seriously cause you to consider divorce? What's your secret? I think Tanya's calm. I'm very irritable. But God brought us together, and she's very calm. She's inert. So imagine two Italians like me. That would be explosive substance. But God formed her in a way that she can calm everything down. So it's Tanya's achievement that you would not have thoughts of divorce. Yes, I would say that. She's very calm. She's very quiet. She does not talk back. Okay, that was harsh, but still. If I have emotions I don't understand and I express those things, I don't remember her talking back. So when she does not respond the same way, then I calm down and we reconcile. So, did I understand correctly to my question why you never seriously considered divorce? Your answer was calmness or proper reaction of my wife. Yes, yes. To some more difficult conflict issues. Yes, she knows that I need more time to overboil, that I would repent and I would ask forgiveness and we'll move forward. But she does not abuse those points of weakness. I think my next question would not be reasonable. I'll ask it anyway. Would you like to comment? Just the fear of God. I know for God that's not an issue. I always ask a question. I ask for a husband. I ask for children. How would God look at divorce? Just fear of the Lord makes it all better. In one of TV shows, a Christian family consultant spoke, and then this TV anchor found out that this Christian counselor never recommended to couples to divorce. And he asked the question, you have never recommended divorce in your practice? And the consultant did respond that I was like a doctor who would never recommend for a patient to die. Sergey, did you want to hit your wife at least once? For me, this is a border. I feel a lot of remorse when I raise my voice at children and a wife. So my border comes much earlier. I think this is achievement of Christ. But you're irritable. I never had a thought of hitting. Maximum that I can do. A month ago that happened. I'm working at home. And I have timing to make proper phone calls and I need help. So what I can say? I cannot break plates. But then I remember this refrigerator, the door isn't open, and I need to do things, so maybe with refrigerator, yes, but not with my wife. Fear of the Lord, what she said. I dislike myself raising voice. Tanya, what makes your day ideal? Early morning when I send everyone to school and to work and just spend the day in quiet. So Well, that's my next question. So, your ideal a day at quarantine under house arrest. I try to put framework. I need to stay at home. My children understand well. Or the mother is said she needs to be alone. I don't know if you are in a single bedroom apartment. Maybe you need to go to bathroom or any other place just to be alone, to talk to God. When she works, she tells children, Father is working, be quiet. When Father is working, nobody can speak. We support each other. We create this microclimate supporting each other, and children understand that Father and Mother think the same way. When Sergey is on the phone with someone, children are quiet because Father is talking. They tell each other. Tanya helps to make things quiet. They respect us. They respect. So this is partnership. You feel the need for quietness. I build up her authority in the family. I protect her. And she does the same thing. Even when I cook, Sergey tells the children, look how great our mother is. He keeps telling children to pay attention, to say thank you. And they have no other way now. I think this is the power of the family. This is a potential. When somebody of children gets irritated with Sergey, I said, no, you need to get on his side, find peace. We never say that Father is bad and we need to do something with him. We support authority of each other. Okay, what makes your day ideal? I think this quiet time. I love that we have this 2-year plan. I never have a question. Well, 2-year plan is Bible reading plan in our church. Bible is the Word of God. It's written for all ages. It calms and comforts. We are reading about Job now. He goes through quarantine, through suffering. His friends came in to support him and they were quiet for 7 days before they started speaking. I read the paper Bible because electronic Bible distracts me a lot. And I write down things with pen and notebook. I also love toasted bread, French toast with honey. If I have some tea, some French toast, and or just a piece of bread with butter. That's the ideal time. Do you know this detail? Of course. I always have honey and bread and toast at the table. Children love that. Some people are thinking that way about coffee. My attitude to coffee is neutral, but French toast with tea and honey, that's great. Okay, you talked about the beginning of ideal day, and that's important focus. You need to begin everything right, because each of you directed our attention to the morning when you meet with God without interference, and that gives you inspiration for the rest of the day. But then French toast with butter and honey, yes. But this quiet time in the beginning of our family life, we thought we should spend it together. People say that you need to do it together. Everything must be done together. But it's like eating from the same plate because Sergey eats fast. I have very high metabolism and I eat everything up very fast. So we need 2 plates. In our family, this is a model that might look strange to others. I have my quiet time with God. I read and I confess and I grow. And she has her own. We're not reading the Bible together every day. We have family time in the evening or at the end of the week. But we have individual Bible studies and then we share throughout the day. Some try to do it together. We are alive. Maybe this is your model. Try it in this way and maybe your relationships will grow that way. Next question. You have almost 18 years of family life. And right now, I'll try to divide this distance of 18 years into 3 stages. 3 stages of 6 years. First 6 years of your married life, following 6, and the last 6. When are you celebrating your anniversary? 17th of August. And we are celebrating 20th of August. August is rich in marriages. How would you assess your mutual understanding from 1 to 10 in these 3 periods? How you understood each other first 6 years, then next 6 years, and next year. From our view right now, yes, because at that time we thought we have great understanding. Tanya, give assessment for first 6 years, next 6 years, and third 6 years. I think we lived through different stages, different tests. At that time it seemed that things were great, but now it looks so much better. Okay, give some assessment. We are not ideal, we are still in the process. 5, 6, 7. I think first 6 years, I think we were just recognizing each other. We are green, we were more offended of each other. Then we would grow better to understand each other. So first 6 years, what would you say about your mutual understanding? Maybe 5 out of 10. Then maybe 7. Next 6 years, 7. Now maybe 8 or 9. Sergey, for you, first 6 years were very mixed because we were scared off the marriage. We were told that we would have many conflicts. First year would be hard. 1 year later, and we did not even start with conflicts. So first 6 years were not the same. But I think 5, 6, and 7. 5 for the first 6, then 6 and 7 for now. But then we thought that we were ideal. At that moment, we heard from other families who really had worries. They were shocked by each other, things that were revealed. But for us, it was very soft. So give us an answer. What helped you get up, grow in your understanding? We were serving together. We're ministering in village of Zvizhivka. We had teenage ministry together. We had family club together. And we were not just married. We had joint work. We prepared together. And that really formed us well. What else, Tanya, in your opinion? What's the secret that was every period of your married life you became better, deeper in your emotional closeness? I think spiritual growth. When you understand how to do things right. In the past, we did not have so many seminars to learn at, but we had pastors, we had good mentors. I think mentors helped us a lot, and growing does help. Every believer needs to keep growing. We cannot stop in growth. No family can stop in growth. We're not ideal. We always need to learn. Okay, tell me then, for you as a wife, as a Christian wife, what helps you to grow? Can you name 1, 2, 3 key factors of your growth? Spiritual growth, that is. For example, when I am offended with Sergey, you've heard that he is very impulsive. And when he says something, I keep it inside. So first thing I do, I close up, I go to my room, and then thoughts start filling my head. I'm so poor. How could he do that to me? After 17 years of caring for him, every lady knows how to build her anger up. And you need to stop. Love your neighbor as yourself. My neighbor is my husband. He is the closest. I need to get to his side to see how he would act in that situation. And then with that same refrigerator, at that moment when I called him, well, it was the fridge. I fixed it, and the door on the inside is old, and it sometimes falls apart. I had to wait, and I did not have to call him. And I always expect, and I tell him, come, fix this refrigerator, and I think this Superman will fly in and will fix everything. And I know I have this time of calling, and I need to finish first, and I'll help. And he came in. He was flying in a Superman, but then he was hitting that door, and it doesn't close. And I go to my room, and these thoughts fill my head, but I don't want to stay as victim. Self-pity is bad. But then I thought, if I was on his side, what would I do? And I asked the Lord, even if he did something wrong, please don't punish for him, because I love him, although I am angry with him. Or if the child tells me something, I tell the Lord, please protect my child. I am angry, but I don't want my child to suffer. I just heard something new for me, because I never thought she was going through this thought process. Because in anger, we can hurt ourselves with these emotions. But then I quiet myself down, and I find where I was wrong, and I need to forgive. I cannot do it just on a whim. He comes and asks forgiveness, I am still angry. And I keep thinking, why did I hit that door? Sergey always asks forgiveness first, because I keep thinking he is very impulsive. I remember this story about two magnets. Two magnets are pushing themselves away when they have the same polarity. One of magnet need to turn around, and they will come together. You'll never push the same polarity. So someone needs to turn around first. Who? Well, more spiritually mature member of the family, but I'm not happy with it, because I think husband must do it. Christ turned first. Christ was first to begin redemptive plan. He died for his church. He was initiating. So to follow the model of Christ, when the two magnets are at tension, I need to turn myself around. I gave more emotions that I needed, and I asked forgiveness for it. It's hard. You want to say that Tanya, you never asked forgiveness first? Explain why. Explain why. I'm happy with Sergey. I cannot turn around so fast. I cannot keep up with him. He gets on fire very fast, and then he gets cooled down very fast. I take time. There were times when she was first, but it still takes time. It cannot be that very moment. But for me, this distance is shorter. I live in real time. I get angry, and then I go and ask forgiveness. Okay, Sergey, when Tanya was at fault, were you not irritated by the fact that she needs to understand that she is guilty and she's not asking forgiveness? This time of waiting, when will she understand finally? I think in these first 6 years that could be the truth. But now I know her better. And I know that things will not be good if we don't talk to each other. We hate this situation both. And I would seek the opportunity to knock on her door, and I will ask to talk. I will ask forgiveness, but it will be later. I am responsible to start conversation. Okay, we have several questions from our viewers. Our online audience wants to be heard. Some questions from them. First, where would you advise to spend time outside your apartment without breaking Ukrainian law? Or will you stay at home? It's interesting about rules in Czech Republic. Actually, When rules were not that strict, we would go to forest. We would drive around so that there are no people around, and we just spend time as a family, 1 hour or 1.5 hours in the forest. Now we're jumping the trampoline in the yard. Okay, you have the yard, fine. We have a piece of land. It's nice. So you can, 500 square meters allow you to enjoy the time outside. In these harsher rules, they come into force beginning on Monday, tomorrow, 6th of April. So we'll be discovering new life hacks for that. Next question, what's your attitude to TV series? What's your favorite? The Bible is a great TV series, I think. I watch films by recommendation based on real events. We usually go to the Facebook of this person, get in touch. Yesterday we watched this movie, Christ, under investigation. We went to Lee Strobel page, and this is active pastor. We looked at his page, his children. TV series, we don't spend time on TV series. We've seen it with the Bible, some film, maybe some comedy, but not TV series. They pull you in. You want to know more and more. After people have watched something and they tell us, okay, your family will enjoy. And we have this list if you want to know. How can believer daughter-in-law and believer mother-in-law can build relationships well? Both are believers, but still they have tensions. I'm still not in that period of my life, but just recently my cousin called me, and she's a believer, but her mother is not a believer, or her mother-in-law. And she says that in the beginning she was very angry that her mother-in-law was not supportive of going to church. Now she's more adjusting. And now her mother-in-law says to her and her friends that I don't believe that a person can change that much. So a younger person needs to adjust to older. Did you have problems with Sergey's mother? In the beginning, but I always tried to ask God to give me forgiveness. Sometimes I heard on the phone that their stories talked about me, but God gave me forgiveness. I call her mommy now. So these things need to be resolved in secret room with God. If two believers are clashing, that's bad. That means someone is not growing spiritually. But then that's miracle. I don't have mother-in-law. She's my second mother. So she accepted me as a son. She cares for me. She prays for me. Maybe because she lost her biological son. But that's another blessing for me. She really is for me as second mother. Tanya? It was important for me to hear about forgiveness. Forgiveness means not to build yourself up in your anger, not to gather all bad thoughts, bad actions by your mother-in-law, but to forgive. Martin Luther said, thoughts are like birds. We cannot cast away birds from sky, but we can ban the bird from building a nest in your head. So anger cannot stay, can fly around but cannot stay. I know some stories where parents of one child or the other are destructive for their marriage. We decided to move away from parents' home because my parents have a place for us to live and Tanya's parents have a place for us to live. But we decided to move away. The wisdom is teaching that the man should leave father and mother and cleave to his wife. That's what we decided, although it was very expensive for us to rent. Another question is about, say, Christian wife and non-Christian husband. The wife would like to build proper relationship with husband, maybe to influence him positively. How can that happen? First, you need to begin with your quiet room, not to prove anything to him. In the beginning, resolve everything with God. Just pray, because nobody can do it like God does. And then ask God to have proper attitude, to have a servant heart. This film that we saw yesterday, based on real events. This skeptic who was against Christ but investigated Christ, and he wrote that I hated God, but I saw God's love. I could not understand how you were kind to me. And he wrote a book that sold in 4 million copies. Or a story about aggressive atheist and his believer's wife. When he's angry and she brings him coffee, even hardest atheists remember love that was shown to them. Okay? How did you invent this family worship time, the time together? Why did you decide that was important? I remember the crisis for me as a pastor, because I stopped in life, and Mykola gave me a good book, Purposeful Parents. We have this breakfast for preachers, we have worship, we have so many meetings scheduled in life, but the regular time with the family is not scheduled. It's assumed, but is not happening due to other meetings. And then with Tanya first at family council, and then with children, we decide that we plan our time. In addition to seeing each other, we plan the time for the family. It's Wednesday, our Blessed Wednesday. Then when we had some other event, pastors meetings Wednesday, then we moved this family time to Thursday. So my family time is on Monday, and there was a period of my time, my life, where I would give a little time on Monday, a little on Tuesday, a little on Wednesday, and I comforted myself so nobody would reproach me that I don't spend time with the family. Allah said, could you give me something full and not just a piece? And I imagine that piece of apple that is not finished yet but already bitten, and it was very important for me to hear and understand her. And then it was revelation. This is the seventh day. God ordered in the beginning of history that we should have the day when we do what? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. We rest, we enjoy, and this is a time that we need to spend in the family. Great, thank you. There's a question about a very terrible virus, not coronavirus, but some other, called pornography. How do you protect yourself and your family, your children, your IT specialist? You understand these technologies. Maybe you can share some technologies. It's interesting that God had mercy on me in marriage, because I know that some people are suffering in marriage. I had this experience when I was alone in Kiev. I did not have this experience in marriage. I couldn't say that I have overcome it. God protected me. But I know that Scripture gives answer to all questions. The Scripture says that I should enjoy the wife of my youth. She is the wife of my youth, and God is not mistaken. He has done everything for me to enjoy emotionally and intimately, and a friend, she's my first friend, and she's my counselor. So if you follow this plan, the builders do not change the plan of architect. They follow the plan of architect, and if the architect's plan is good and builders are good, they follow the plan, then house is good. So we have a good house. And pornography is deviation from that plan. When a person wants some other woman, somebody else's daughter, somebody's mother maybe, he breaks that commandment, follows his own plan. When I give you design of not a house, but of some shack, that's what you do, that's what you build, and you're in trouble. But if a person is in trouble of pornography, maybe it's important for the wife to share. Sergey very honestly and directly said that, wife, you can strengthen your husband in face of those temptations, these tests, in such a way, and that if you allow your husband to enjoy you, to get comfort in you, legal wife, how often? We come to a very piquant question, because a wife would have her own understanding of regularity of intimate life, that share of pleasure that is sufficient for a husband not to die, not to fall down. So he climbs to this celebration time. You just talk about minimum plan. You said, great. Husband should have boldness to talk about it, have boldness to be honest about these temptations. But how about a wife? What kind of wife? How can wife protect the husband for him not to watch pornography? To be open to him in all spheres. It's not that you gave birth to children and that's where mission is finished. Some women think, what do I need else? I have children. I know this is physiology of my husband. This is not just fantasy. Did you know that in the beginning of married life? When did you learn and how? Stanislav Grunkowski was preaching about this. Preaching by Stanislav Grunkowski. I love Irpin Bible Church with the fact that we are talking about things that others have under taboo. We discuss in marriage physiological differences of husband and wife. We had that on the screen. It was a time when unbeliever told me about these things. I went to doctor to see. We had a diagnosis of infertility. And the doctor asked me, how often do you do sex in your home with your husband? And this doctor was very... you think women, the husband needs it? No, you need it. If you do sex more often, you would not have problems like you have. And I got very angry with her. God uses different methods. Doctors are preaching. This lady was very clear, and then I learned about physiology of my husband. So it's God's plan. It's not forbidden topic. It needs to be studied. It needs to be discovered. This topic should not be tabooed. There is a book in the Bible about that called the Songs of Songs, the Song of Songs. So what books will you advise to read to husband and wife? Top 5 or top 3 books that you believe most important. First, How to Be a Pastor to Your Child. That's a very great book about basics of education. For the first time through that book, I saw God's understanding of education, of upbringing, and that helps me. For me, I think Purpose-Driven Life. This is a book that I keep rereading, and that keeps me in shape. Loving God, loving neighbor, forgiveness. I do a Bible study for ladies on that book. That's a 40-day course, and you can do only one chapter at a time, chapter a day. Okay. Painful question. What do you do if family breaks up? Cry with those who cry. What I mean is, if these are your friends, then you'll try to walk with your friend along this difficult way. Maybe giving advice from the scripture, maybe not giving advice, just praying together, praying more, breaking apart. Some people would say. Some people think about divorce. Some have such a big emotional distance that it's hard. Of course, both husband and wife need to have someone next to them that will help them go through this crisis. Very difficult. That's a recommendation to introduce a spiritually mature person into your life. You'll be vulnerable. You'll need to tell everything. But maybe that would be healing vulnerability. You open up. Maybe you need to confess certain sins. And this person is mature. He will give you good advice. And if they have good family and good experience, they would be constructive, not destructive. Maybe give some advice from the scripture. Maybe you need to be next to someone. Tanya, what would you say? What helps me, I understand that we are two imperfect, selfish people. Whatever I want to pull the blanket. I want to do something for me. And Christ is a bright star in my family. So I need to cover him and she covers me. It should be both directions, not just me covering him, but he is serving me as well. So if you have just one-sided help, then maybe something will work out. But if both get disappointed, discouraged, then it's a most terrible situation. If one at least is fighting, then there is hope. You are saying, okay, he's covering you and you are covering him. So when you do it both ways, it's helpful. But when one person is serving and the other one does not see the benefit, what do? You should not lose hope. In the Bible, there are some crisis situations, dead end, no solution, humanly speaking. But what makes Christian family different is that you should never lose hope. You should not cross out God in every difficult situation. Dead end situation. Even that parable in Ezekiel, dry bones. Nobody can bring life into dry bones humanly, but God can restore and bring life. If husband capitulates or wife gives up, that's difficult, but God can resurrect even those dead bones. There is no hopeless situation. This fire, this light at the end of the tunnel will prevail. Okay? These 5 most conflicted and difficult topics in every family: children, sex, finance. Where did you have problem? Sex. We did not have problem there. We just had a problem with result. We wanted children from the very beginning, but we had through both of us have gone through testing, and we had 2 confirmations that we would not have children, and we decided to adopt. But before we decided for adoption, we also decided to go and have discussion with God. Doctors twice told us that there will be no help, and we had a fasting in our family and to give up before God, and God had mercy. We have a daughter, Anya. She's 14 now. Then we continued to live openly, and we had no children. That was real diagnosis. Then after some time we started praying for God to give us another baby, and then Igor was born. How much time went? 5 years. So this was first pressure. We were young. We were not ready. We are dedicated to ministry. We travel around. We have family club together. Everything's great. And then what do? Also, that problem was with Sergey. That was bigger problem for me. Not in me, but in him. And then I started to question, why me? I wanted husband that would give me a father, and we have no children. I had depression, maybe. It was a very difficult time. And what has healed your fears and disappointment? I will not tell you that I'm a super Christian, that I have believed and endured. It was very difficult, but I held strong to God. And what I wrote in my diary, story of Anna, God found a way. So I was trying to hold to the Lord. Lord, I will take on everything, but just please give me children. And Sergey supported me a lot. Together with him, I remember this time we were there living in our apartment, and we are there under the tree and crying before God. Doctor said they can do nothing, and we just hugged and cried together. I think at that very moment, God stepped in because He always helped. Now we have 3 children. You have 2 biological children, and third is Vlad, boy that you have accepted into your family. Tanya, I'm very interested to know, how did you come to this? Honestly, we never dreamed about this. Some people were dreaming to take more children in, but God gave him into our family. We started first hosting him on weekend. You were taking him from the shelter once a week. Him and the boy, Karina, for a weekend. We wanted to show them what the real family is. There was a worship service in our church, and an orphanage moved near to our church, and we heard about it, and the war began. And we decided, okay, we'll take in 2 kids. They will eat with us, and they will play with us. Did you have a plan to take children in? Well, we thought about it when we had infertility, but then children came. And also with the house, we never said no because God gives us opportunity. We never forced the issue, but we never said no either. And when God brought the circumstances together, we would take children for the weekend, and Vlad was born under our heart. God gives everything in peace and quiet. Someone needed it sharply, but for us it was quietly. He prepared my heart, Sergey's heart. Some children are born under the heart. Some children are born in the heart. So that's our son. Praise God for you and for accepting that boy into your family. How can a wife live if her husband abuses computer gaming? A wife wants to talk to him, and he has 1 gadget, 2 gadgets, and TV. 2 men. If the husband is not doing the work of his life, he will waste time. If they have a task, they have activity. My children, I remember when we pulled the trampoline from the attic. They have the assignment. They work on their thing. They brought every piece together, and they forgot their phones. When man does not have the calling of his life, he'll be wasting time. It's side effect. Doctors try to treat game addiction, but it's a secondary symptom. Men are burning their life when they are not doing the calling, the global mission given by God. When you follow your mission, then you have no time for something secondary. Tanya. Okay. You want to talk to Sergey and something steals Sergey away. Work, gadgets or something. What do? You have this irritation, anger. You are like that flower that is drying up without water, without fellowship. How do you reach your husband? I never was in such a situation to give an advice. I talk to some ladies who think that their husbands are closed in, but it's not our situation. We talked about everything. Actually, we always talk about everything. I talk more, she listens more. You cannot force a person to talk. Just pray for God to change his heart. How can you influence the human heart if it's closed on the inside? I'm quite communicative person. I love to talk. I love to be with people. I enjoy it. The irony is, very often, when I came back home, I was so exhausted. I was squeezed out like that lemon that I had enough to say just a couple sounds and nods. But that's when my wife wanted to talk to me. And I had to understand. I had to open my eyes. Allah was offended with me, and I did not understand. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't betray you, I bring money into the house. What else do you need? But I was blind. I did not understand how much communication she needs, because a wife needs to pray. Pray again and again for her husband, but also they need to be industrious to learn. Sometimes we start reading a book together, or seminars online, like Bruce Wilkinson's Biblical Portrait of Marriage. But if they don't want to listen, how do you force them? You cannot force them. Maybe you need to invite. These couples into your home. If you have a couple that does not communicate well, bring them in, share this French toast with butter and honey, and talk. That is a very healing effect, especially at the Bible studies, when people think it's hard for them, and then they hear somebody else going through suffering, and they have compassion or learn from each other. Find some mature lady, or go through biblical counseling, or just pray together. And then, if he is ready to go to a Bible study together, that's fine. Some are not willing to go together. But you should not close in yourself. Share with something. Jesus went through all difficult moments with his disciples. A great example in Gethsemane. He was hurting on the inside, and he asked disciples to support him. I think husband would be amazed if the wife creates a date, makes this romantic surprise to refresh this romantic time with hint at intimacy. Don't try to change his head. Don't drill into his mind, but create something that would allow him to feel the taste of closeness. We have some questions about upbringing of your children. Who's more responsible for raising or forming your children? Who's responsible more? I think both of us. It's very hard for us to separate, because we all have our part, our investment. I worked from work, and I worked from home. So when I was at work, then Tanya would help. When parents show the children that they study the Bible, we always talk. Our children always listen. And children understand. It's not just Sunday when we talk to each other. I always ask them questions, and they ask me We share with children what we read. I think that's mutual. It's not just Sergey. For some more serious questions, I tell them to go and ask their father. But we are close to conclusion of our interview. What's more difficult for you during the quarantine? Quarantine created a challenge that you never had before in relationship with your children or to each other. In the past, when we would send children to school, and this is Monday, my day off, we would talk more. Now when they don't go to school and they do their school at the kitchen, and I walk around as manager, check how they do their classes, I think it's harder for me. I miss the time when they spend the first half of the day in school. Children, we are dreaming about the time when you're not at home in the morning. There was time when we were two together. Now we have less of that time, but still, that's what we have. It's hard to discipline them. They don't understand that these are not holidays, that life continues and learning continues. It took us a long time to understand. Last Thursday, that was turbulence in the family. Our family airplane was shaking a lot because of this question of delays with homeworks. Teachers are sending new ones in the day. At the end was very difficult. Even in the evening prayer, something was wrong. And in the morning, we woke up, made a plan, made all the assignments, all the weekly tasks that they had to do, made a schedule. This is timetable for the day, but also what they need to make up for their studies, not to have anything left behind. We spent the first half of the day for lessons intensively, and then you play in the second half of the day. Next day was better. Everything was great. Children are learning. We help them. And now we are working better in this regime, but when we found this format, we always seek something to get out. They understand better that disciplined schedule, understanding who is doing what and when, who is responsible for what, that helps you. We didn't have clarity because the tasks were just piling up in Viber Messenger. We could not understand and they could not understand. Even for the holidays, we have a list for everyone what you must do, and then they check off. This is a great instrument. Can you put it in the comments as reference? Great. Clarity is peace. When you know and have clear expectations, you have better results. Okay, what are the benefits of home rest? Benefits? We talk more. Because everyone is at school, everyone is at work. It's hard to be all at home, but children become better friends. We talk more. I think this family evening is spent all week long. We put and have some tea and we talk. 9:30 is a prayer time. We read the parable every evening, but they all have to go through shower because they need to go to school. So 25 minutes, that's maximum. And we don't have to get up early in the morning, so we can talk more. We talk about the parable, we talk about the stories, share the stories they did not know, and we see it's 10:20, and we keep talking. We don't want to close. This is very simple book, Buona Ferrere, 365 stories for your soul. We have teenagers, they have many questions. We tried different. We read Bible stories. We tried daily reading of Pastor Irpin. One topic for the evening, and they start talking, and we keep talking. That's good motivator for evening. My last question. Thank you, dear online viewers, for your questions. We tried to answer some of your questions, part of your questions, and my apologies. I could not ask them. That's my fault. Christ The resurrection of Christ will be celebrated on 19th of April, God willing. Why is he in the family? Why husband needs him? Why wife needs him? Living a real risen Christ. I think he is different from a party leader. A party leader wrote some commandments, rules. Many people think about Christ as a party commander, that he gave good teaching, and he is a great teacher, and his disciples wrote his great commandments. But what makes Jesus different? It's his living presence in the family. I remember when he helped us go through conflicts, difficulties, when he caused me to ask forgiveness. That's his voice by Holy Spirit sounding in my heart. Look at how Christ did it, and talk to her, help her, forgive her first. Without Christ, I cannot imagine where our family would be. With my emotional state, my irritation, my personality, and with Tanya's ability to close up, that's living presence of Jesus Christ, and our obedience is a solution. But if Christ is not in your family, if you have no one to listen to, you're just enjoying yourself, your experience, that's very difficult to live in such marriage. Living presence of Christ is the secret. Tanya, what's your answer? Jesus is risen. He is alive. Don't think about him in the past. He is alive. He is with you. He is risen. You can talk to him all day long, every day. It doesn't have to be dedicated time in the morning or in the evening. He's always with you, and he's everywhere with you. He is with you at any second, and he will tell you what to do, to speak or to keep quiet. We know that from the scripture. He forgave, and we forgive. He wrote it, and we don't need to invent anything. Quiet time with God in secret room is fine, but he is present with us all day long. Thank you. Christ is necessary for every husband and wife. For me, he is the greatest reason why I need to forgive. Because when I think how much he forgave me, that's a reason to forgive to my husband, and for the wife to forgive me. Christ became real incarnation. He is concentration of 100% love, because we have a fake, distorted understanding of what does it mean to love. To love, Jesus showed, is to go to the end, denying your comfort, denying your desires, your purposes, becoming a servant without fear and neglect. You wash feet to your wife if you're a husband, or to your husband if you're a wife. Jesus is the source of love. We have many lights around because they're fed by energy source. Our battery dies very fast. I'll remind you, these nice young people, beautiful people, when they answer the question, what makes their day ideal, it's the beginning of the day with God, in their quiet room with Christ. Blessings to you, peace and health to every family, to every home. All the best. God be with you.